this false tweet from the SEC, how did the industry react? What was the mood?
Well, we walked into the lobby bar right as the tweet came out, and everyone was ecstatic. We've been idiotically pursuing this idea, this vision of creating an easy way for investors to access Bitcoin through a cost-efficient vehicle that can be traded right in a brokerage account. It's great for folks like my dad. My dad doesn't want a Bitcoin wallet. He wants to go into his existing brokerage account and get exposure to Bitcoin without having to worry about all the other details. So we're ecstatic. And then 5 minutes later, after all the drinks were ordered, very sad. But look, I think, if you were a screenwriter, like, you couldn't write the narrative of this industry. It's wild, it's preposterous, it's crazy. And so we'll see what happens today.
And does that wildness, that preposterousness, that craziness also work against the industry in many respects when you've got regular investors looking at whether to get involved in that, whether there's an ETF or not?
I think maybe 5 years ago it would have. I think in the last 3 or 4 years, the rest of capital markets have become just as crazy as crypto. So it used to be crypto that was extremely volatile. Over the last few years, tech equities as volatile, and on some days more volatile than Bitcoin itself. So I think in the past, perhaps so, but as broader capital markets have really become more chaotic themselves with the advent and continued growth of social media, FinTwit, and also just the general insanity of macro lately, I think it's much less of a concern.
And this sort of more than 150% rally in Bitcoin over the past year has in large part been underpinned about the excitement around this ETF as well. Is there any chance, in your view, that actually the SEC just flat out rejects these latest round of applications?
To me, that wouldn't make sense. But you know what? Again, I couldn't write the timeline of this industry if I wanted to, so anything is possible. But look, the SEC met with issuers over the holidays. Clearly, there's time pressure here. They want to move forward. And lastly, BlackRock, Larry Fink, they are a really important part of U.S. capital markets. They're incredibly close with the Biden administration. I don't believe they would push forward so aggressively if they did not believe that there was a good probability that this was getting approved.
And one of the big narratives around the ETF is, well, this could bring in a new wave of investors, big institutions, some of the more traditional players in the market as well. There was a similar sentiment when we were getting Bitcoin futures as well a few years ago. Is this any different?
Well, let's talk about that for a moment. So as of today, there's $53 billion of AUM globally in crypto exchange-traded products, right? So these are structured products that trade as trackers effectively. The largest, of course, is Grayscale, but then you have our CoinShares products in Europe and a wide range of others. 53 billion of AUM, 75% of that, 38 billion is Bitcoin. If we look at this coming ETF, right, where is this capital going to come from? Where are the flows going to come from? That's always my favorite thing to talk about, is where are the flows? Well, last week alone, we saw over 110 million go into Bitcoin ETPs around the world. What will flows from this product look like? Hard to say, but I think we can reasonably estimate that, if we just look at the U.S., retirement accounts in the U.S., $34 trillion pie. If even 0.5% of that gets allocated over the first 2 years into Bitcoin, that's a huge uptick from current AUM. So I think even just looking at the global investable asset base, growing acceptance of Bitcoin as an asset class, and also growing sentiment that the 40-60 portfolio is not really relevant anymore, I think that's a really, really strong sort of indicator that we could see potentially material flows, orders of magnitude anywhere from $25 to $100 billion in year one.
And what does that mean then for Bitcoin's price?
Number go up.
Number go up?
Number
Can you
go
give
up.
me a number?
I never give a number. I follow Howard Marks's sage advice. Name a number without a date or a date without a price, but I think we're going over 6 figures by the end of the year.